So hi everyone, welcome to today's Rescaline online meeting, and I think a lot of them are joining right now. So I'll just give you a brief about who is going to do the presentation today. It's one of our lead generation experts here at Rescaline. She's Manasa Pedavalli. She's doing her marketing and analytics right now in an MBA, and she has done a lot of research in analytics. That is why she has chosen a topic that is quite related to analytics, and she's linking it with marketing, which is primarily what we do at Rescaling here. She has done two little projects that are majorly covering road accidents and another one about supply chain. And I think she has quite an idea of how analytics work, and now she's going to give her views on how it has had an impact in marketing. So she has completed one of her researches in genomes from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University from Hyderabad, and I now give the space to Miss Manasa. Manasa, you can
There.
start sharing your screen and you can start your presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, it's loading. Yes.
Can you see it right now?
Yes, Manasa, you can carry on.
Acha, okay, can I start it?
Yes, go ahead.
So hi everyone. Hi everyone. This is Mansa, and today I'm going to tell you about the importance of data analytics in marketing thing. Coming to what is data analytics, we can say it as a raw data or any structured data, and this data is being analyzed. And we generally analyze it to draw various conclusions or to show up the trends. So we actually uh, just a minute. Hello.
Yes,
Uh,
Manasa.
can everybody hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you. It would be great if you can
Uh,
turn on your video, Manasa.
yeah, I did it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, we do this generally to find the efficiency, efficient solutions, and come up with the current trends. And we make the information completely structured one. And when we do this analytics thing, we generally have a lot mass of information with it. And we analyze this lot mass of information, which we generally call it as also big data thing. And then I'll give you an example of where this analytics is generally used. When in our day-to-day life, we use this social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and all. So Instagram has this feature of showing us the day-to-day activity that we do. It shows the percentage of how much you actually used it in a day. So with this, it is trying to show you the use how much you are using it, and it is also showing up the world which country audience are more to it. So this is one of the day-to-day use of it. And then coming to the next thing, the types of data analytics. So we have four types of data analytics in general. I have put you the graph here where it actually shows the it shows the when there is a difficulty in drawing the insights of it, and which type of analytics can actually be used for drawing the correct or accurate information. So the four types of them are descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So coming to descriptive, it actually says what happened. So what happened? If for example, you can actually describe or summarize the data that you have in this descriptive analytics. So here is a figure. It is not quite clear, but this figure actually shows the output which we can get after the descriptive analytics. Like we can show it in a visual format, like the percentage of our percentage of increase in our sales, or the number of the customers that we have, and so on. We can show it in the visual format. So in general, it is more useful to in e-commerce sites. For example, you can understand the customer behavior pattern, like what kind of products is buying, or which kind of products are more attractive to the customer and all those. And if you have a particular marketing campaign for a product, you can also see the responsiveness of the audience, and also the product demand. You can find it. It is generally helpful to study the market trends and supply and demand of a particular product, and also the challenges that we are facing while when we sell a product. So these kind of analytics we can draw from the descriptive thing. And next, coming to the diagnostic analytics. Uh, Diagnostic analytics is generally, we can say, the root finding the root cause. So when our descriptive was completed, we'll have the data of what has happened in the past. So if we find a decrease in the our sales or something, then we can actually find the root cause through diagnostic analytics. So for example, our present situation is, we are trying to find the cause for why a particular person is affected with COVID-19. So we find either whether it is through primary contact, or whether it is through secondary thing or not. The second stage or the third stage and all. So through this, we come to the conclusion that a particular area is having the particular stage, like second stage, third stage, and all. So this is how we draw the analysis in diagnostic analysis. And the customer ratings also. When a customer gives you the less rating, then we can find the reason for that person who is giving the less rating. So you can actually know why he didn't like your product or service. So this is how diagnostic analytics is useful. And then coming to predictive analytics is something which is useful to predict your future, or future events, or future results that we may get. So actually, it takes the historical patterns and transactions data. For example, STP analysis is something where we do for every product we do during the marketing thing. So it has nothing but segmentation, targeting, and positioning of the product in the market. So it is generally done in, the best example would be our grocery stores. So when we place a product in the grocery store, we think of the customer behavior first. So in this, we analyze if we place a particular product in particular section, whether it will be useful, easier for the customer to easily find it and get it. Because when a customer goes to a grocery store, he'll have some idea of what he has to get, but when he sees the other products beside the things in a line, so he'll actually get them along with the actual products what he wanted. So this is how STP, predictive analysis, can be done. And then customer acquisition cost. It is also useful in customer acquisition cost. CSA is nothing but how much we are spending on a person. For a product, when you place your product in the market, so you'll calculate per person how much it is costing. So that is called customer acquisition cost. So through this, you can also predict how much it will cost for you per year for a particular product, or for a particular service. So here is a graph which I attached. So here I'm showing you three kind of products. One is candy cane, Christmas tree, and sweaters. So the sales of these three different things from Jan to December. So you can see a rise of the sales of Christmas tree in the month of November. From October to December, you are having a rise in the sales. So for the next year, you can plan your Christmas tree from November. Selling your Christmas trees from November, so that you'll have a growth of sales. Immediate selling, you can have it. And next, coming to prescriptive analytics. So in prescriptive analytics, it actually tells you what steps you can take at the end, or what steps you exactly can take in the end after doing all the predictive analytics, which will be the accurate and useful steps. So and in this we can also decide which kind of data is actually useful to you. This is completely prescriptive analysis. So it helps to understand the demand and fix the discount and the price ranges. For example, if you take a shop which sells a branded clothes, and a shop which is in the roadside. So a roadside shop cannot fix the prices which are of high ranges, and branded clothes cannot be set with heavy discounts and all. So this price range can be fixed through prescriptive analytics, and also the marketing campaigns which we make. It will also help to design them. Like how if we know the demand of a particular product, then we can easily make the marketing campaigns for those products only, instead of making the campaigns which are not which cannot grab the attention of the users at a particular season. So and the best example would be our LinkedIn post. So when this lockdown is a perfect situation where you can grab your LinkedIn audience. So this is how you can grab the audience, and for this you need to make the uh, grab a good post or some motivating article or something like that, so you can grab the audience easily. So uh, and you need to understand which post or which article can grab the attention of the user. So this all comes under prescriptive analytics. So here is a picture of it. So here predictive analytics is only telling what will happen, when will it happen, and why will it happen. But prescriptive analytics will tell you what are the benefits of it, and what will be the impact. And so then coming to this, how do we do this? I mean the whole process. How do we carry out? So it actually starts with data warehousing and data mining thing. Data warehousing is a it is actually a technique where you collect all the data you require, and it may be either through primary sources or it may be through secondary sources. Generally, we do it through query things. Query is something like survey thing, where we make a structure of questionnaire and we give it to the audience, and we collect their answers, and this answers will be completely our data to do our research thing. So this kind of survey things and all are called the primary data, and then the data which we collect from the internet or newspaper or some other sources, we call this as a secondary data, and we collect all this data and we store it in a database. So as we are storing it, it is just called as warehousing. So this is called data warehousing. And coming to data mining, this is the actually the important step in analytics process. So in data mining, we mine the data. It is something that we remove the duplicate data or useless data, and we just make the data which is filter the data which is useful to us, and then we try to draw the relationship between the parameters. For example, if you take a road accidents thing, so we have different modes like bicycle, car, and bike, and all these things. So when we take a highway, we can actually analyze through which mode of vehicles the accidents are happening. Generally through through I mean generally on highways, heavy vehicle accidents would be more. So we analyze it like when we have this data, so we can analyze which mode of vehicles are having more accidents. So and then but generally the results which we draw from this would not be 100% accurate, because it all depends upon the sample size we collect. Mostly it will not be 100% accurate, because there because we have lot of differences of opinions. So we cannot actually say that the data or the analysis which we did is 100% accurate, but it may be 97% or so. And next, coming to statistical analytics. Statistical analytics is something which we show it in the actual figures or the numbers. So that can be done, yeah, it is like 96% or 97%. So all these numbering which we are giving, it is done through statistical analysis, and it is generally done through, to identify the market trends. And we can also say that market mix modeling. Market mix modeling is something when you wanted to place your product in a global markets, or when you want to place your product in a new market. This is where we do the market mix modeling. So for this also you need a correct number, actual number of information. Accurate information. So this is where you do the statistical analysis, and so that you can place your product successfully either in global markets or wherever you want. So this is where statistical analysis is helpful. And then coming to data presentation, data presentation is nothing but the visualization. So it is the final step, and this is where you need to present your data attractively to it may be your clients or it may be to your customer. So this is where you draw your insights and present it to them. Generally, it will be in this format like bars or the graphs and all, or pie charts and all. So coming when you so generally the tools you use here is, it will be RStudio and Tableau, and Excel is the general thing, a general tool which you use for visualization thing. And then comes the R, Python, Tableau, and yeah, all this you get it. And uh, Tableau is something where you can do the animations thing too. And the you can present your information in animated format. And then Python is something where you need to be strong in coding thing. And R and Python, both of them, you need to be strong in coding. And so this and also the Google Maps. Another example would be the Google Maps thing. So when you now Google is giving the history of where, what all places you travel to, your it is sending it to your mail. So it is how uh, it is getting your information, and it is also telling you that you have traveled so and so kilometers, and so and so places, and so and so things. So this is where it is helping you to analyze what you are doing in a day-to-day life, and also it is taking your information and it is analyzing the where it stands as a company. Uh, yeah, so that's it for the presentation. I hope everybody understood it. Any queries?
Yeah, Mons,
Yeah.
I was asking like which tools you use for like such analysis. Like for the first kind of analytics, we kind of like use Google Analytics, or we have tools like that. And what we have tools for like predictive analysis, like to tell something about what is going to happen.
Okay. So for any kind of analytics, like it may be descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, you can use the Excel as the basic thing, where you have the charts in the Excel to present your information that you have. And then when you go to the much more technical formats, you can use RStudio, where you need to learn the R language. And when you go for Tableau, Tableau is completely a kind, similar to that of Excel, because you need not do much of coding there, but you will all have the click and getting things. So it is much closer to Excel thing. And only the R and Python, you need the coding skills to do it. So with these four, you can visualize the things, and you can make your analysis part.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Manasa, I have one doubt.
Okay.
How you will convert the data, I mean like text data into the numerical data?
Okay. So when you have a text data, you need to first study the data. Like, say for example, you are collecting the information about the various shops you have in your area. So you only have the shop name and address name. That's it. So that too in a text format. So what you do is you just put the heading of. I mean, you just take you just calculate it as a parameters. That is, you take one parameter as a shop name, you and another parameter as an industry name, and another parameter would be the address of it. Another parameter would be the phone number of it. So and another would be the sales of that particular shop or that particular industry. So when you have this information, you will divide it according to the parameters you are taking, and then you'll be analyzing it in a form of bar graph so that you get the numerical data. Bar graph generally shows you the numbers of it. So when you successfully differentiate it, then you can easily get the numerical data.
Yeah, I have a doubt, Manasa. Hello. Yeah, actually, what is the customer acquisition cost? It will be fixed like a direct cost. It's something regarding about that, or it will be a base cost which have been selling to the customers. The
It
customer
will,
acquisition.
yeah. It will generally be the base cost because because when it will be calculated both from the raw materials thing too. I as of my knowledge, from raw materials also you generally calculate your cost. So
It doesn't enclose the profit, right? As you said.
no. It doesn't enclose the profit. It just only encloses the cost which you're putting in. Profits are again a separate thing.
Praveen, is your question over?
Yeah, CC cleared my doubt actually.
Okay, cool. So Manasa, I have a question. So
Yeah.
with the developments in all this data mining and the data warehousing that we have generated over the years so far, it also
Yeah.
gives rise to the threat in cyber, cracking and cyber security and other stuff, right? So what is the
Yeah.
correlation between the data that we have mined so far, and as of now we are using Zoom. Zoom has also been in a security threat for a lot of companies these days. And
Yeah.
how does that come into a part where cyber security is also very important, and how is the cyber security part developing in the terms where we are also mining data at different levels?
Yeah, so actually, if you take the Facebook and Instagram and all these things, so it is actually collecting our personal data too. And also, it is actually putting our personal data with it and doing the analysis part. So it is it is on the company that they have to maintain the data securely. For example, the cloud is something which is used to maintain this data securely. Cloud computing, which is boom now, and then it comes the you can say the Microsoft solutions, which it is providing now for cybersecurity thing. So it is on the company side which is collecting our data to protect it.
Okay.
So we can't do anything to protect the data, but
No, my question precisely is the development in cybersecurity is in the same throttle as much as we collect data, like we mine data in billions and billions. So
yeah, of course it is. Of course it is because when you collect this data, for example, like geo thing, when you collect this data, so it is important that both data mining and both this cybersecurity need to go hand in hand. Because when you are drawing insights that when geo is raising prices, or when you are analyzing how many customers are there for geo, When you do this analysis part, obviously the data security which the Geo is maintaining is also most must. I mean, it is the important thing.
Right.
So both go in hand to hand.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions to ask Manasa?
So I have another question also.
Yeah, Shobhan.
Yeah.
How you say that the data collected or the sample size is being accurate?
Yeah. So generally, when you collect the data, you collect the data of all age groups. Like not only concentrating on a particular age group. You put a you generally take the when you're collecting about the addiction of youth to the bad habits, then you take the age group of people of age group 20 to mostly 18 to 35. So when you take the age group of people of all these age groups, you get difference of opinions and differences of data. So through this, you will not have both two extremes or two lowers. You'll have the data in the mid moderate thing, and which is close to the accurate one. So this is how you can say that the data which you took is the accurate one.
I'd like to add one question. It's like if you're collecting the data based upon geographical questions, or whether we want to based upon the factors depend on. The question is to be.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Actually, we are just getting the samples from the people from the age group, different age group. Whether the questions is to be based on the geographical area, based upon the working location, all these things, or just based upon the factors depending on them.
It is not necessary that you need to take on the geographical conditions. For example, if you wanted to take only in a particular area like India, or a particular area like US or something, if you want to calculate in a particular area, then you can go for geographical analysis. Otherwise, the factors which you are calculating the data is important than the geographical location.
Manasa, can you stop your sharing? Manasa, can you stop your sharing?
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Okay. Manasa, that was like a really wonderful show that you put up because we got to know a lot of things about data analytics, because it's a technical thing, because we had it in our MBA and PhD, which we really never understood. So when you give the right examples, it just hits you in the right spot. So thank you once again for like the wonderful presentation and the interactive session that you put up. And I think we can conclude the episode, and we'll see you again and all the others in the next episode. Until then, thank you everyone. Bye bye. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.